Hello everyone, welcome to our Google Chat during week 3 of our course. As everybody's joining, please make sure to click the QA button on the left-hand side of the menu in your screen, and that way you'll see the group chat on the right and be able to ask questions and say hello to your classmates and participate in the chat. While we're waiting for everyone to gather, I will make sure that, let's see, yep, all of our links are accurate, and you should be able to be joining us any minute now. Hello, it looks like we have one viewer already, which is wonderful. Welcome to our Google Hangouts today. For some of us, it's early in the morning. For others, it's probably late in the evening. And as you're joining, make sure to turn the QA button on the left-hand menu. And then that way you'll see the group chat on the right. Please say hello to everybody if you get a chance, and ask any questions. Because remember, the format of our Google Hangouts is to answer questions that you may have as you've been working through the material in the course, or just even in your own practice that we haven't even addressed in the course. So I want to make sure that everybody has the group chat on so they're able to ask the questions and say hello to everybody. Meanwhile, I'll be monitoring our Coursera course discussions to make sure that there aren't any questions posted there that we should be answering. So welcome everyone. It looks like we have about 7 viewers so far. I am logging into Coursera so that I can answer questions from our discussions as well. As you're joining, please definitely say hello in the group chat. To do so, make sure you click on your QA button on the left-hand panel, and then you will be able to chat in the right. If you don't see those buttons, you might be viewing this directly from YouTube, and if you are, unfortunately, you have to be logged in order to ask questions or to post into the chat. So I encourage you to do that. Let's go to the courses. And since we don't have any questions yet, as hopefully some of you have noticed when we've had these sessions in the past, what I like to do is just focus them on answering your questions. That way we are able to make sure we're covering anything that might not be covered in the group discussions, in the content in the course, or anything relevant to you that would be helpful as you're working through the material in the course. I don't come with particular lessons or information planned to present, although I will actually do a couple of course reminders since we are all together. My first course reminder is please make sure that you submit the peer assessment. The peer assessment's a great opportunity to have a moment to reflect on what you've learned thus far in the course and get some peer feedback on how you might apply that in your own practice. Now, the first round of the peer assessment is where you actually do the assignment and submit it, and that's due next Tuesday. So Tuesday, September 8th at 11:55 p.m. So make sure you get your peer assessment in before next Tuesday at 11:55 a.m. And I'll make a note of that in the chat. is due September 8th at 11:55 p.m. Pacific time. You have to get it turned in by then. Because of the way the peer assessment works technically, we can't really accept any late assignments. Occasionally I can get somebody in maybe an hour or two late, but beyond that, you won't then get automatically sent to your peers to then do the reviewing and to have your paper reviewed. So make sure you submit if you want to do that part of the course, your peer assessment, by September 8th, next Tuesday at 11:55 p.m. Pacific time. Once that is complete, as you've probably read in your instructions, there will then be about a day break, and then on Wednesday, early in the morning, you'll be able to assess your peers, and you'll have a full week to do that peer assessment as well. So I encourage you to make sure you participate in that. If for some reason you don't get your peer assessment in on time, or you want to do your peer assessment in a language other than English, you're welcome. There's a forum area in our Coursera course where you can go post your peer assessment, and you can post your in whatever language you wish, and any questions that you might have about that. And then your fellow peers that are following the discussions could certainly respond to or give you feedback to that peer assessment there as well. It won't be part of your formal grade, it won't be part of the formal process, but what it will do is give you a chance to get some feedback if you want to get feedback outside of the technical process that's built into Coursera. And we don't have any questions, so let me make sure. Let me go over to our Coursera course and see if I've got questions in the discussions, because we don't seem to have any questions. And like I said, I use these as like an office hour opportunity where people can ask any questions that they may have. So I'm jumping into our live Google Hangouts. Okay, we've got some questions. It looks like they've been answered about the practicum, which is great. So those have been answered. For those of you that are unaware, and I'm going to sneeze. UC Irvine, as part of this program, also offers a practicum for credit that once you complete the 4 courses successfully, you can do this practicum for credit. It is online, but it's an intensive practicum where you work to develop and build prototypes of online learning. It's a great experience, and I encourage you to consider it. And there were some questions in our live Google Hangouts forum about when the winter practicum will open. And so there'll be more information about that October 30th, and the link is in the practicum, in the discussions where the question was asked, and the course will start January 25th for anybody interested in that. Let's see what other questions came up in our Coursera course. So I did answer. There were some questions around how the course videos were created. And it looks like people continue to share their favorite tools for how to do that. I have confirmed that my video team will be getting us a video of what they've done. It probably won't be for another week and a half or so though, but I promise to get it out to everybody as soon as they have it complete. They have a pretty big queue of work that they're working on, and so they don't always have a chance to get to something really quick. And then it looks like also folks have been talking about using e-portfolios and Google Plus for an e-portfolio. And as I mentioned in our lectures, that is actually a great tool for e-portfolios. Google Plus is super helpful in that it can help organize and show the work that's been done and that will be done in a portfolio. And especially if you have other students that you want to comment on that student's portfolio or their progress, it's a great place to be able to do that as well. Now, it's not organized as a typical portfolio, so the visual feel and look might be challenging in some cases. And for those opportunities, there are other portfolio tools that you can actually pay for. A lot of times they have like a free basic level. Here's 2 of them that are really great. One's called Digication and one's called Pathbright. These are both 2 great student portfolios, really good, particularly in the K12 area, but could also be applied to higher education for those of you that are in higher education. But I suggest those two and checking them out. And I think they have some free levels, and then you can subscribe to the portfolio solution as well. And I think they can also charge students. So in some cases, it might be appropriate to buy a certain number of licenses for a set number of students, or have students even purchase portfolio licenses. So those are two great ones while you're considering portfolios. And somebody raised in our live Google Hangouts questions, questions about portfolios. Let's see. And then it looks like we have a question about the peer-assessed assignment. So Bernadette, thank you for posting this, Bernadette. You ask about an assessment that you are curious what kinds of technologies are really appropriate. And it looks like you want to do a technology to help support some Spanish lessons. And that's awesome. And you can definitely utilize social technology in this way. It's actually a great example. So for those of you that haven't seen Bernadette's question, she posted it in our live Google Hangouts area, and she was just talking about how she could use social technology in a way to help support something around analyzing events in the Cold War. And some of that even imply, how to talk about the way the US acted to end tensions, what were the different roles of the different companies, and how you could use social technology. And this is a great example of using social technology, because it doesn't just have to be as simple as reflecting around about what you see in the world around you. You can use social technology as a way to role play. So the fun thing about social technology is yes, you need to have an email address, right? But you could create personas in your social technology, depending on which technology you want to use. And in creating those personas, you could either act as that person and role play, and then have a live activity. So for example, you could create Twitter accounts for a couple of different personas. You could have your students do a live Twitter activity, a live Twitter chat where they're in those personas. So it could be Melissa as President whomever. And then you could, President Reagan or whomever. And then what you could do is you could have me then post as though I were that person for that particular hour. And then you could take out of role. Now, if you do that, remember Twitter's live, Twitter's public. So if you do that, you might want to, start off your session with stepping into character for my live Twitter session for my class, and then you're in character and stepping out of character. That way, if you do use your own handle, other people who would see who might be following you might not be confused as like, why are they talking in this way when that's not normally how they speak. But that's a way you could do even a role play in a social technology. Or you could do, as I mentioned in our live Twitter chat yesterday, you could do like a global UN activity. So you could have something where everybody is coming together, particularly if you have some face-to-face in your class. You could have everybody come together and role play, and then people are observing and making comments of their experience at this role play in Twitter or in Facebook or in Instagram or wherever it might be appropriate. And it looks like those were all the questions in our forums related to the live chat. Let me go look and see if there's any other forum questions that are out there outside of our forum chat. And since nobody's asking any questions, make sure to ask questions, because if we don't have any questions, we'll sort of wrap this up. But let's see if there's any other questions. It looks like people are connecting with one another, which is awesome. I'm thrilled to hear about that. And people are responding to my questions, which is great. I'm going to reflect on those later this week. Let's see if there's other questions that people have that they would like answered. Okay, people are just sharing ideas. See if there's anything else in here that's might be a question that we could answer. Somebody asked about the peer assessment, and do you have to submit each question separately, or can you submit a whole PDF? And you really should submit each question separately. It works much better if you do that. So if you create 3 little separate PDFs and submit each question separately, or if you copy and paste your text into the text box editor, that will work as well. So we do encourage that as you're completing that peer assessment. Those look like the only questions that we've got going in our discussions. We had a live Twitter chat yesterday and answered a bunch of questions yesterday, and I think we covered all of those. And then it doesn't look like anybody has any questions in here. Please log into Google Plus and post your questions. We'll hang out for about 5 more minutes. It looks like we've got 10 viewers. Or say hello to each other in the chat, and like I said, please post your questions if you've got questions. Otherwise, we'll hang out for maybe like 5 more minutes and then probably drop off. That way we don't keep everybody if there aren't any questions that folks have. So ask some questions. Please ask questions. And for those of you that have never been in Google Hangouts on Air, the reason we do Google Hangouts on Air is because you never know how many people are going to attend these sessions. I've had some with like 150 people in them. And when you get about over 10 people in Google Hangouts, it really gets difficult to have audio and video turned on for everybody. People have bandwidth challenges, people sometimes get dropped off, and it's just a really hard thing to manage just because Google Hangouts isn't meant to be a collection of people of more than 10 or so people. If you're doing projects or activities with 10 or less, then it can be really cool, and it's a really effective tool to have everybody turned on video and audio. But we do the Google Hangouts on Air flavor, which is meaning I'm broadcasting out, and then anybody that is a Google Plus user with a Google Plus account that logs into the event through Google Plus can then ask questions in the group chat. And that's one of the tools over on the left-hand menu that as you're exploring the system, you'll be able to see. You've got chat tools, you've got the ability to screen share, so I could share my desktop with you all. You have the ability to showcase videos or particular items, the Q&A, which is what we're doing here. You can capture a window, so if you're collaborating around ideas, drawing on a whiteboard, you could capture that picture. And then there's a bunch of other kinds of tools that you can just add on. I could draw if I wanted to. I wonder if I can draw. Oh, I can. There we go. See, I can draw if I want to, and do a whole host of other things as we're working together. So let me go back. Let's see. Let's get rid of drawing. We'll trash that. We'll go back to Q&A. And then you should see me again, which is awesome. Aha. Now we've got some questions. Excellent. Hello from Edmonton. I am challenged to identify a technology for the assignment. There are so many interesting, exciting technologies. Any suggestions on how to get and maintain focus? Great question. How to get and maintain focus. So think about, let me make this art go away. Let's see. We're going to make draw go away. There we go. So focus on something that either you've really liked so far in the lectures. So grab something that we've already talked about that you're like, oh, I want to try that out and see how that might work. Let me dig a little deeper into how to think about using that. Or start with a question or start with an issue that you've had in your class that you're stuck on. So in your own teaching or your experience as a student in teaching, is there something that wasn't overly effective or that you could do more with? And then think about what is it that you want to try to do in that situation, and then what technology might help do that. And remember, technology stretch, so you can do anything from Google Plus to Google Classroom to a social technology we've talked about to implementing just open content or games or a mobile app, or you can do all sorts of things. So, but think either, like I said, focus on something that you're struggling with or you think could be improved, or pick something that you just really like and are interested in from the conversations that we've had thus far in the class. All right, so Avelina, you asked, do I know how Schoology works? So Schoology is like a learning management system. It actually is a learning management system, like others out there, Blackboard, Moodle, Canvas. There's a whole host of learning management systems out there. So what it does is it allows its focus, and you'll see this in the learning management system lectures, is it allows you to keep all of, it's like a course website. It's probably the easiest way to describe it, with the ability to have discussions and quizzes and other capabilities built into it. So it's licensed to an institution, although there are free versions where teachers can just get in and do their single class in that environment, but it tends to be an institution or a district or school-wide thing that people will utilize. So check out the learning management system section of this course, and then I'll give you a better sense of how Schoology works. And I believe on their website, they've got some really good videos that just give you a tour of using Schoology. And like I said, I'm pretty sure you can sign up for a free course so that you can build and play and figure out how it works. Okay, what is the best way to create videos easy and appealing? So I'm actually doing this, the videos in this course were done with a green screen and a video person and some nice equipment that filmed me. But I'm actually creating some of my own videos, and I think Camtasia is fabulous. So if you get a decent web camera, you know, the ones built into computers, they're okay, they're not great. But if you spend about $100, you can get a really good web camera, and make sure you have a good mic. Your built-in mic might be okay, or you might just need to get an external mic, and then use Camtasia. And Camtasia is a free, you can, well, it's not free forever, but you can do a free 30-day trial, and it allows you to record PowerPoints, desktop shares, anything you're showing on your computer with your voice recorded over it. It'll allow you to record yourself, so you can film yourself speaking. It'll also allow you to do a picture-in-picture, where either it's yourself with your slides in the corner, or it's your slides with yourself in the corner. So you can, and it's super easy to edit. They've got really basic tutorials in there that help you just manage and edit your videos, and it's working really great. And it works on Mac and PCs. So I'd encourage you just to get a decent, or make sure you have a decent web camera, have a decent mic, and try out Camtasia and just see how that works, because you can do some really, really cool things. Same thing with iMovie, if you're a Mac user, or Photo Booth. There's some just simple technologies out there that you can use to make video with just a basic computer setup. And is Google Plus different from Google Hangouts? Yes. So Google Plus is your collection of Google stuff. So when you log into Google Plus, you'll see a Google Plus page where you can keep updates and share with one another sort of what's going on, what events you might be attending, anything that you might be working on in Google. Google Hangouts is a tool that can be used separately or within Google Plus, but Google Hangouts is where it's your Synchronous tool, where you can have synchronous audio and video chat. So think of Google Plus as more of the collection of stuff that you are utilizing or that you want to share, and that Hangouts is one of those tools that you can use within it. Oh, and have you ever done Powtoons? Powtoons is awesome. That's a good point. Those are kinds of things that you can also really create some fun videos, particularly for the schools, the K12 age kids. And that's a really fun tool to use. That's a great recommendation, Jane, for Isaac. Okay, so more questions. I'm currently teaching, so this is from Isaac, I'm currently teaching visual stories. So this is the answer, this is why Powtoons. Yeah, for an animated short film. What do you think about Storify? That's a really good one also. Storify is really good and would help map out that visual story creation, definitely. You can also get into mind mapping. So mind maps, there's some other, I'll pull them out and put them in our Hangouts. But there's some other like just mapping tools that you can use if you want to do like a visual map where you have a central thing and then things shoot off from it, just to get students brainstorming early in the process. It's not as much of a storyboard kind of tool, but it will allow for that brainstorming. And you could use mind maps in the very beginning of that project as well. Okay, more questions. Okay. So yeah, I apologize about the questions. I had them turned on and then I guess I had to refresh. So I had QA and I was watching it, nothing was coming up. And then when I clicked QA again, I was then able to refresh and see all these questions. So for those of you that were like, can you see my question? I actually can now. I think my Google Hangouts on Air got a little stuck, so I had to refresh it. I haven't been able to check out Google Classroom. I get this prompt, Classroom is only available for Google Apps education users at this time. So interesting, Linda. So I thought that was the case as well, but I've had some teachers get invitations to experiment with Google Classroom, even if you're not a Google Apps for Education institution. So Google Apps for Education is where Google licenses to a district, a school, an institution, Google Apps, and then it's branded and it's specific to only that school, district, or institution. So the thing is that what it does is it creates a safe environment, because then students are accidentally posting things public or interacting in a much more public way. It's blocked it's licensed just for that school. And so you get a bunch of tools that you can use specific to your school through that license. But I know teachers that use Google Classroom as well on their own, even if their institution doesn't have it. So I just need to figure out how they got the invitations or how they got to that. So I will go see if I can figure that out and post that in our discussions, because I do know some people that use it without being a Google Apps for Education school. Let's see, and I think there's more questions. Yeah, there's the Google tools, Evelina, there's some really great Google tools. Some just simple things that you can do with Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Drive, Hangouts, Hangouts on Air. There's just some cool stuff. And Google continues to put out more and more cool stuff for education in particular. And so definitely check it out. Now, if any of you guys are Microsoft institutions or schools where you're using Microsoft tools predominantly, and there's a Microsoft version where you can, and they give a lot of stuff free to education, they're developing some really good tools as well. They have OneNote, which is very similar to Evernote for note-taking, which could be really interesting for students doing online note-taking. They have Office Mix. I really like Office Mix. It allows you, it's a plugin for PowerPoint. So if you're like I said, a Microsoft school and you've got your Microsoft tools, Office Mix allows for you to insert questions, insert interactivity just directly in a PowerPoint presentation. And it's super cool. And I've seen some teachers do some really great things with it as well. So Google isn't your only option. There's some really cool Microsoft stuff, and they've been doing and releasing stuff particularly for education and for schools and districts that are utilizing their suite of tools. So I would keep an eye on those. I keep an eye on what Microsoft is doing too if you're a Microsoft school. We see Google is incredibly popular in the United States in education, and then when you get out of the United States, particularly in Asia and in Eastern Europe, Microsoft becomes really, really popular there. So no, there are comparables if you need to do, depending on what platform your school uses. All right. Yep. In the UK, we're seeing, Google Classroom is very popular. Yeah. It's interesting how that spread has happened and where it's, I think it's almost who got where first and what kinds of tools are just more popular in the particular country as well. Let's see. So we have just a couple more minutes, maybe 5 more minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions that you want to get addressed in our live Google Hangout session? This is awesome that we've had 10 folks and people are active, and we went through the discussion questions that were posted in the Coursera discussions as well. So let me know if there are any other questions. Couple of final course reminders in case people have come and gone. Your peer assessment, make sure to submit your actual assignment by Tuesday at 11:55 p.m. Pacific time. By submitting it by then, you'll be able to get into the queue to have your peers review your assignment, which is a really great learning opportunity, and I encourage you to do that. Then that following morning, so Tuesday night, 11:55 Pacific time, the assignment gets submitted. By Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, you're able to then see 3 of your peers and then provide feedback for your peers. I really encourage you to do a couple things when you provide feedback for your peers. 1, make sure that you are following the rubric. 2, make sure that you give them, we made sure to turn on the ability to leave comments. So leave comments, not just scores. That's really powerful. And then 3, think about the content. A lot of times people ask questions, oh, the grammar is kind of weird, or they're struggling and trying to write. Don't worry about that piece. Really worry about what they're trying to do and the application. And the application of their ideas, the application of the technology to the particular setting that they set forth. And that'll help a lot. If somebody does submit it not in English, the requirement is to be submitted in English. So you can just either give it zeros or you could skip it. But they do need to be submitted in English. And then finally, once that piece is done, those reviews are done, you need to do a minimum of 3, but you could do more than that if you want. You'll then get you'll get the feedback back after it's been completed from your peer reviewers. So you'll get a chance to see what everybody suggested that you think about, or how they marked yours against the assignment rubric. Trying to think of any others. Oh, next week we will have another live Twitter session and another live Google Hangout session. So, and then we'll do the same thing for the last week of the course. We're in technically week 3, although you can do the course in any pace you wish, and there's 5 full weeks for the course. So make sure you are also working through your quizzes. You'll have until the very end of the course to submit all of those pieces. And it looks like the last question is, do we have easy and friendly technology for schools? If so, can you post it? Well, and it depends. So the challenge there is there's a lot of different categories of technologies, but what we can do is, and I've been trying to find a good wiki to do this with, what we can do is we can just create a quick list and links of technologies in different categories. So I will find a way to do that and get that going. So then you have a quick and easy list if you can just go search through those technologies and see which ones you might want to use at an institution or a school. So we'll try to get that together, no problem. And I think that's everything. And I had said that these would go about 30 to 40 minutes at most. So I think since we've answered all the questions and we went through all the questions in our Coursera discussions, let's go ahead and wrap up. I want to thank you all for attending. It's great. I love being able to have a live opportunity to chat with you, even if it's just through text and some voice. And thank you all for your participation in the course. I hope you're finding it valuable and gathering good ideas for what you might want to do in your practice with implementing technology. And have a fabulous week. Join us for our live sessions. They'll continue to be structured in this way, where you bring questions and I'll help answer those questions, or make notes to then put some more resources in our discussions area. And I put any questions that are left where I'm doing some research and sharing back information to you. Those answers will be posted in the live Google Hangouts on Air forum in our Coursera course. And then continue to give us feedback. Let us know how we can restructure the course, what things would be helpful for you, what you like about the course. And I really, like I said, hope it's valuable for what you're doing in your teaching. So thanks everyone. Have a fabulous week and I will see you next week. Bye.